Is your family tree a mystery? Are you fascinated by genealogy? Well, hip hip hooray, let's talk DNA with Julie.
The truth is in your genes.
In CutOff Genes.
Welcome to CutOff Genes, the podcast that helps you find your truth using nothing but DNA. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson, and I'm a genetic genealogist, henceforth known as a Gen Genie.
I am Richard Castle, the co-host and the producer of this podcast. Welcome to podcast number 73.
73?
Yes.
That's a lucky number for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? I mean...
73 and 37 are both lucky numbers for me.
And those are... Oh, you know those both the numbers 3 and 7 are 3 and 7 lucky numbers as well for you? Because
yes.
Oh.
Yeah. As I was saying that, I was thinking, why is that? And here is why. I was born on the 7th.
Okay.
And number 7 has always been my lucky number.
Right.
As it is for a lot of people.
Lucky 7.
Yep, lucky 7. And I was brought home from the baby's home on the 3rd, on June 3rd.
Gosh.
So the 3rd has always been, my mother would always say she always considered my birthday being June 3rd, even though it was April 7th.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, again, we always think of our dog's birthday as the day we brought him home, even though it's silly. We know it's not his birthday. But they told that we have no idea what his birthday was.
Oh, that's right. You don't know. My dogs, every dog I've ever had was born in March.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an odd thing.
I know. I don't know what's up with that.
Well, they didn't know. I mean, he was at a rescue, and so we just figured they told us he was 2 when we got him. So we figured, well, his birthday's the day we get him.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Happy birthday.
He has no
buddy.
identity.
He's adopted, though. He's very happy in his home. Aren't you, buddy?
Oh, he is so much so that he doesn't want anybody else in it.
I know, exactly. He's been ruling this house for 3 years now.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you. And the neighborhood. He walks through this neighborhood like he is the cock of the walk. You know, he's just strutting around, looking around like, okay, this is all mine.
Mine.
Mine. He sees another dog, and he starts to, scratch on the ground and kick. You know,
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a bull.
Yeah, like a bull. But it's very much like this is mine, and I'm showing you that I am dominant here.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
You know what's weird? My dog, my little Pomeranian, he was paper trained. And so he was taught to go to the bathroom on paper in the house. And he almost never went outside.
Okay.
He would if we took him outside, but because he was so little, he could walk right through the fence in the front yard because he's only 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So he was just paper trained.
Right.
But when he does go out and pees, he does that thing where he kicks the dirt behind him.
Yeah.
Who taught him that?
No, that is just part of their...
He doesn't do it when he's inside.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, right? Like.
Yeah. And he's also never lifted his leg on a tree. He's a boy, but he never lifts his leg.
Really?
He just squats like a girl. Because he's a drag queen. That's just a given. We all accept it.
You know, I walk Buddy 3 or 4 times a day in the neighborhood because we don't have a yard. But recently somebody came up and handed me a flyer for a lost dog, and it just breaks my heart. Oh
my gosh.
So, folks who are listening, please microchip your pet. I mean, it helps to identify lost pets if they're found. You know, that they can find out who owns the dog so that it doesn't just end up in the pound.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I saw the most chilling video yesterday that shook me to the core.
Oh dear. I don't know if I want to hear
on Twitter.
about this.
Well, it has a happy ending.
Oh, okay.
But there's a place in, I think, Florida where it's called the dumping ground. And it's where people who don't want their dogs anymore go and leave them.
I don't understand
and
that.
this one woman goes there every single day and rescues the dogs.
Oh, God bless her.
And there's video of her like seeing them, and they're all scared and shaking. But like you can see her driving up, and they're standing there. And then as she gets closer, they start wagging their tail, like, "Are you here to save me?"
Oh my God.
The most
heartbreaking.
Yes, it's heartbreaking, but they're so happy when they get in the car. And like she puts a leash on them, and they're suddenly like, "Oh, somebody cares. somebody's gonna.
Right.
It was. I cried. I sat there crying watching this video.
When we went up to the mountains for vacation, we passed a sign that I had never seen before, and it said something like, "No dog dumping here," or "No dog." And I thought, oh my God, do people
does that?
drive up to the mountains and leave a dog? It's
For the bears to get.
yeah, or the coyotes, or
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea that they had to come up and put a sign there because people were doing it is so horrific to me.
Yeah, it is. It's
people,
horrific.
There's especially when there are other ways. A, you don't take a dog in if you can't take care of it.
Right.
B,
If you still took it in but can't take care of it, you don't need to dump it. Take it to a rescue.
Yeah, a rescue or find a home for it.
Yeah.
Rehome it. Do not.
You lazy.
Yeah, drop it in like it's like, I don't know, like throwing your cigarette butt out the window and it's gone. It's trash.
Yeah, it's gross.
Oh, that gets me so mad.
Me too.
Let's talk about something more pleasant, shall we?
Okay, let's talk about Dillinger.
Oh, that warms my heart.
Yeah.
Yes, notorious public enemy number one.
Yes, him. So we have an update.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he was supposed to be exhumed on September 16th?
Yes.
And there was going to be a whole thing around it because
they wanted to identify to make sure it was him in the grave.
Exactly. So, the plans have hit a roadblock. So Mike and Carol Thompson, who are Dillinger's nephew and niece, respectively, filed for a permit to exhume his body in July with the Indiana State Department of Health. In an affidavit for the permit, they cited that they have evidence the person shot at the Biograph Theater in Chicago in 1934 may not, in fact, have been Dillinger. They plan on exhuming the body to conduct DNA testing and then reinter it.
Right.
So, but something has happened. So the History Channel was supposed to, they'd already planned on filming the exhumation as part of a documentary.
Don't tell me the body has gone missing.
No, less than a week from the dig, a lawsuit was filed by the nephew against the cemetery. And it's halting the project. Last Wednesday, his lawyer filed a proposed motion to the Marion County Court saying that the cemetery is not to interfere with plans to exhume Dillinger. So it sounds like the cemetery doesn't want it to happen.
They probably don't want the press,
Probably not. That's just a cemetery.
I know, but if your relatives were buried, say, I don't know, nearby, it might be disturbing the other graves to have all that, the public come and do a documentary on it and all that.
Here's the thing. So keep the public out just while they're doing that. So there's not going to be people, just a crew. You don't need that many people on a crew to do that.
Right.
Hearing in that case is set for October 1st, so it's going to be a while. Weeks past October 1st, weeks past the permitted date set by the state. Per the approved application, if the exhumation does occur, it must occur on September 16th. Megan Wade Traxler with the Indiana State Department of Health told CNN. I got this on CNN, apparently.
So basically, it's not going to happen, or they have to reapply?
They have to reapply.
I see.
They reached out to Crown Hill Cemetery for comment, but they weren't available. In a statement to the Indy Star on August 14th, they stated that they object to the exhumation and that they have a duty to protect the integrity of the cemetery.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get it that you don't want... If you owned a cemetery, you wouldn't want people constantly coming in and saying, "Oh, I want to dig up, Aunt Joan."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't just...
Right.
Yeah. Actually, there's... Yeah.
But I mean, other people have actually moved bodies from a cemetery because they were moving to... I went to Hollywood Forever to watch the movies that they show there, and I found out that Judy Garland, who had been buried in New York, was moved by Liza Minnelli to this cemetery in Hollywood because she wanted her nearby.
I thought Liza Minnelli lived in New York.
Well, maybe she wanted her further away. I don't know the reason, but she was moved.
Maybe she wanted her closer to Vincent Minnelli.
And I don't know that it was publicized at the time,
right?
As it was being done, so that but still, she wasn't there, and now she's there.
It happens.
Maybe just in time for the premiere of that new movie with Renee Zellweger playing Judy.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that whole thing.
Well, we don't have to.
All right.
You don't have to feel anything at all. It's
You're right. I feel nothing. It's just a movie. Okay, so on the subject that we were just talking about, there's a genetic genealogist in one of the Facebook groups. I had permission to use his name and his story. His name is Justin Stalzis. And he told a story that he's working on. So this man grew up thinking, not Justin, his client, thinking that the birth certificate father was his father, and he left when the son was 4 and never to return. The DNA test now shows that the kid is half Native American and many close matches to Bio's maternal and paternal family. Turns out Bio was transferred in the Navy in the son's hometown 11 months before he was born. So the Bio dad. So they think they know who the Bio dad is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now the son wants the birth certificate amended. But the bio father has been deceased for 20 years. So in order to do so, a court order is needed, which will require DNA tests on the bio's closest living relatives. He can't find a family attorney who has any experience with this, and he's asking for suggestions. It also says, since the deceased bio father only has a half sibling, nieces, nephews, and cousins still alive, even with their DNA, it might be hard to prove to a judge. As morbid as it sounds, with permission from bio family, would exhumation be an option to get conclusive DNA? Thanks a ton. And I did talk to him a little bit, and he said, just FYI, I was just throwing that exhumation thing out as a fishing expedition.
Okay.
I didn't really think it's something that a court would,
Right.
because just because you want, that's probably not a strong enough reason for a judge to say, definitely we will exhume this person so that you can
I would
change
have
your
to
birth
agree with
certificate.
that judge. Again, I'm not adopted, so I can't speak to this. But it seems to me that this is a lot of effort to go through to have something changed on a piece of paper. When I know it's but to me, it's the knowledge that's more important. But I don't know.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, anything written on a piece of paper, we all know, is not necessarily true anyway.
Right.
So I think, once again, truth has to do with yourself.
Right. What you know to be true.
Yes, what you know to be true.
Not necessarily what someone in a a county clerk office wrote on a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we all know that not everything is correct in legal situations.
But to go, to move heaven and earth, and literally earth, if you're going to disinter somebody.
Literally.
In order to test a dead body, and like the cost and the trouble and the, I don't know, the disrespect in a way, just so that you can put that on a piece of paper when you already know the truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's not to find out the truth.
Exactly. And you can change your name. Again, and like you were saying, I get that people, for them, they just want it on their birth certificate. But I think for me, I think that's crossing a line.
Maybe we should toss this out to the listeners. If anybody wants to comment about this on Facebook, what they think, because, you've heard my position on it, and you've heard Julie's position on it. What do you think? Is it too much, or is it perfectly within his right to do whatever he wants as far as, go as far as he wants and spend the money he wants and the effort to get this on his birth certificate?
Right. And John, this is not Justin who wants to do this. It's his client.
It's a client.
And they're throwing it out there. I don't think they're serious about it.
Right.
I think they're
even
just
without the removal of the body,
options.
though, even without that, because the father's been dead for 20 years, and there seems to be a lot of hurdles.
There were pictures that he posted, and the resemblance is quite stunning.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the knowledge is already there. The truth is out. Mm-hmm. It's just about putting it, confirming it on the birth certificate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess, maybe it just doesn't mean a lot to me. Like, to me, a birth certificate gets me my passport and,
Right.
I know it says what my parents are and all that. I guess that's kind of interesting, but I know who my parents are. And to me, it's the knowledge that's more important.
And again, there are other ways to correct history, or to correct, and that is be a genealogist and put all that information in an accessible family document.
Right.
Hay.
Hay is for horses.
Horses eat hay. So I got an email from MyHeritage saying, we have exciting news to share. Promethease and SNpedia, that I've never heard of, have been acquired by MyHeritage, the leading global platform for exploring family history and gaining valuable health insights. You can read more about the acquisition on MyHeritage blog. So MyHeritage, I've spoken about Promethease before, and I've recommended it to people who wanted the health stuff that you get from 23andMe.
Yes.
But wanted the tree building stuff and the relative matching stuff that you have on Ancestry. And I always recommend Ancestry because I'm a genetic genealogist. But then Promethease is, you can upload your raw data to that and you can get a health report. So because they have been acquired by MyHeritage, I guess until the end of the year, you can upload your raw data to them for free to get a health report from Promethease.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think, let me just double check that that's what they're saying. MyHeritage has announced that SNpedia, I don't know what that is, will remain a free resource for non-commercial use. And in addition, Promethease will be made into a free service through the end of the year and then return to be paid thereafter. It was I think it was like $5 when I did it.
Oh, so it's not...
Yeah, it's not a... now's a good time to upload DNA data, yours and that of any family or friends whose DNA kits you manage, to Promethease to obtain up-to-date health information. So...
Yay for corporate takeover.
Yay, I guess.
It saved me $5.
Yeah, what's interesting is
Through December.
Yippee! It might have been more. I feel like it was less.
All right.
If you've already uploaded, you don't have to do it again, apparently, and it just naturally updates. So I went in, and they said that I've not uploaded, which is interesting because I have. Oh. So I don't know what happened with my sample. It was years ago that I did it, so maybe it expires at a certain point, or a different chip is being used or something. I'm not exactly sure. But
you could re-upload the information.
Yes, I can re-upload, so I'm not too concerned about it.
It's not like your DNA has changed.
No, the results have changed,
yes.
But my DNA does not change.
And they're doing it based on the DNA itself and not about the matches and all that, right? I mean,
not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's literally about analyzing the DNA for markers,
right,
and for certain things.
Yes,
yeah,
interesting.
So that's happening. Should we take a break?
Let's.
All right.
If you're enjoying CutOff Genes, please subscribe, rate, and review. Now back to Julie and me.
All right, let's talk about the ever elusive X-chromosome.
Why not?
It's fun, you know.
I was going to say why. No
X.
And who's on third?
Yes. All right. So the X chromosome is always confusing to people simply because it is not the Y chromosome, and X are always... Women have 2 X's and men have 1 X and 1 Y. But people want to treat the X chromosome like the Y chromosome in that it is passed from male to male to male to male. Mm-hmm. Whereas the X chromosome, yes, it's the female chromosome, but is passed from both males and females.
All right.
We've talked about this before. So there's only a certain pattern that it can be inherited. In a way that it can be inherited.
Yes. We're getting into science a little bit.
I know.
And it makes me a little nervous.
Yes. Don't be nervous. I just wanted to put it into action.
Oh, all right.
To show, because I do have 2 distant matches that I've spoken of before, both Australian, and all 3 of us share a segment on the X chromosome. And one of us, it's only the X chromosome. And then the other one, it's the X and a little bit of another chromosome.
Okay.
But the X is the most. And the rule of thumb is if you just match somebody on the X, you can assume that it's quite a ways back.
Okay.
For some reason. I don't know exactly why.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I know. Breaking it down, men get a Y chromosome from their father, an X chromosome from their mother and their grandmother, their paternal grandmother as well.
Okay.
And women get 2 X chromosomes, one from their paternal grandmother and one from their mother, who got it from her mother.
Yes.
Okay. So because I know that both of these matches are on my paternal side. And a lot of people, because somebody's on their paternal side, they think that they can't be an X match. But that's the fallacy.
I see.
Because they hear X and they think, oh, it must be on the mother's side. That's not true, because men pass X's down to their daughters from their mother.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. And so the pattern is limited. So in this case, I have traced Elizabeth and Robin. One is a fifth cousin. Robin's a fifth cousin. Elizabeth is a fourth cousin once removed. I share 54 centimorgans with Elizabeth and 42 with Robin. Now, all three of us go all the way back to fourth great-grandparents, or two of our fourth great-grandparents, third for Elizabeth, Margaret Forbes and Alexander Grieg. Okay? From Dysart Fife. And that X chromosome comes from them, or one of them, or a combination of them. Okay?
Yes.
And then we go down to, so my third great-grandmother, Margaret, had a sister, Jean, who the two of them share. And then they also share that daughter. So they're more closely related, because their connection is 2 generations closer than my connection to them.
Okay.
Their connection to each other.
And how did you discover this? Just from the numbers?
Well, I discovered it from building the tree.
Building the tree, yes.
Right.
Okay.
But I was double checking the X pattern.
Okay.
To see if it was, I mean, I know it's true, but I wanted to put it into action, basically. So with two of us, it goes from woman to woman to woman to woman until our fathers, because it's all on the paternal side. So we all got it from our fathers. I got it from my father, and Robin got it from her father. And Elizabeth got it from her father. Yes, we all did.
You were right.
Yeah, but Elizabeth, her father got it from his father, whereas the rest of us, we just got it from females. So it's pushed towards the female passing it through, but it's not. I don't think that's a given, obviously, because it's on our father's side.
Right.
So the point is...
Good. I was going to say, it's a little slightly confusing.
Yes, I know. So the point is that it works, that the pattern absolutely works, and we are still, I was very much able, because we're X matches, I could be very specific about where I go up, and I much more quickly was able to discover where we connect, because I knew that there were certain lines that I could completely...
Disregard.
Yes, disregard.
Okay.
Okay, so that was my point. So that is the story of the X chromosome this week.
No, I mean, that's interesting. I like the idea that the reason that you'd want to know that is so that you could disregard people who didn't share that.
Right. And it comes into the reason for chromosome mapping, too.
Right.
Because we want to, eventually we want to be able to identify what piece of a chromosome comes from which line.
And where do you get your chromosomes mapped?
Good question.
Yes.
So I got those from 23andMe, because they are both on 23andMe as well as Ancestry.
Is that something 23andMe offers?
Yes, they have a chromosome browser.
As opposed to Ancestry?
Ancestry will probably never have a chromosome browser, but we always have the option to upload to GEDmatch, which will break it down for us, and then we can upload to DNA Painter, which has all the fancy tools, the really fancy tools.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I actually understand that now.
Ooh. Yay.
A breakthrough moment.
Right. Wow, that is.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows.
It made sense. So there you go. Chromosome browser. Ancestry doesn't have one, but we can get them. And Bob's your uncle. Bob's my uncle.
He is. And he might have even passed you an X chromosome.
Nope.
No?
He's my uncle.
Oh.
It would have come from my father.
That was a fallacy.
Yes. That was a fallacy.
Yes. It's
Indeed.
funny that we said the word phallus.
It is, isn't it? And we're talking about, oh God, no, let's not go there.
Are we going back to Dillinger's dick again?
No, stop saying that word.
It's 2 words.
We're going to have to change the rating on the podcast.
No. We'll talk about Disney movies now and make it rated G again.
Okay, fine. Is that how that works?
I don't know. It's actually, this is much more of a PG podcast, I think.
PG?
Yeah.
All right, let's have an update on the Hicks babies.
Oh,
remember the Hicks babies?
Yes, I do remember the Hicks babies.
Right. So there's Leah, my friend Leah LaPearl Larkin, worked on the series for TLC called Taken at Birth, which focuses on the Hicks babies. They were the ones that the doctor told a lot of the parents that the babies had died, and then people would adopt them from his back door.
Right. Horrific.
So this series focuses on those children and finds their biological people for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing that there's enough of them that they can actually have a whole show about it.
200 of them.
Right?
Yeah. So it's called Taken at Birth and airing in a 3-night series, October 9th through 11th on TLC.
We'll have to watch that.
We will have to watch that. You know I will. Yeah.
I know you will.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Here is an interesting story that I found. So somebody saw this on Italian court TV. So an Italian woman and man married in Italy. They divorced, after which she entered into a civil union with another woman. Okay. And he entered into a civil union with another man. There's no same-sex marriage in Italy.
Oh. I wonder what happened in that marriage.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder why it didn't work.
Why didn't it work out? It's a mystery.
They all stayed friends.
Somebody called the mystery machine.
Captain Obvious. They all stayed friends.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. The female couple wanted a child, so one of them donated her eggs, and the male couple both donated sperm by mixing it together for fertilization using in vitro. Yeah. And then they immigrated to the United States.
Okay.
You would think that's the end. Wouldn't you?
I would have thought it was the end when you're mixing sperms and eggs.
Yeah, I know. In Italy, a daughter was born to the female couple, and she carried the surname of her biological mother. And now, 17 years later, the daughter has decided she wants to carry the surname of her father instead of her mother, and both of her mothers want to sue the real father for back child support. So they have brought the male couple back to Italy and are demanding they both take a DNA test.
Oh, my.
Both men say that in Italy, a DNA test is unconstitutional and that they do not want a daughter. She's 17. What do you think about that?
I question how friendly they were, that they all remained friends and moved to the United States. And then what happened? Like, what went wrong that suddenly now there's a lawsuit? And,
yeah, I mean, if they were... Okay, first of all, there should have been a contract.
I was just going to say, this is like a prenup or a pre-birth.
Yes.
Like if you're going to donate
there needs to be a legal contract.
Legal contract outlining exactly what is expected of each party.
Yeah, and
right?
so why would they suddenly be demanding back child support?
Yeah, that's
weird.
Yeah, and I don't know, was that part of the deal? Did they say, oh, you're going to donate the sperm and we're going to have the baby and you're going to help support it?
Or maybe that was the deal.
Yeah.
There's no mention of any of that.
Right.
And this, of course. So I'm curious as to how that turned out. Maybe I'll do a little research.
Yeah, I mean, that I would be interested. Did they just say, like, thank you so much for donating and we're going to raise this baby? And thank you, we've got all we need now. And now then 17 years later to go back and ask for child support.
Sounds like maybe that kid runs the whole family.
Yeah. There's a piece missing in this story, I think.
There's a lot missing in this story.
But
but I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to hear your knee-jerk reaction to it.
Well, my knee-jerk reaction with the information I had was, how dare you go and ask for back child support 17 years later? I mean, at some point you would think, okay, let's break this down. Why wait 17 years? Mm-hmm. If part of the deal, even if they didn't write anything down, was these guys were going to support the baby, right? Support the child, why wouldn't they have sued after a year or 2 or 3?
If they hadn't been paying.
If they had not been paying. But to go back when the girl was 17 and try to get 17 years of child support in arrears seems excessive to me and suspect.
Mm-hmm. Suspect.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
with the information I have. I don't know the whole story, so I
Right.
can only go on, what do you think, Julie?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Everything that you said is correct.
Because, I mean, my mother and father were divorced. And I'm sorry, if my dad missed one child support payment, she would have, gotten an attorney involved.
Right.
Not 17. She wouldn't have waited 17
here's the thing.
years.
I mean, they were a couple. So why did they need child support from the other couple? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know enough about this, guys. I
Right.
shouldn't have brought it up ever.
No, I don't. No, it's not. I don't think it's wrong to
I'm
bring
kidding.
up in this conversation about DNA and all that. It's to me, it's just yet another story of blended families and how we create, and how DNA and modern science allow us to have these family units that are not what we call the standard.
Yeah.
And it brings up a lot of other issues, like child support. How does that work?
Yeah. All good things to think about.
I honestly just assumed in most cases when someone donates sperm for someone who wants to have a child, that before they do that, they would discuss how much they were going to be in their life, if at all. The father was going to be in the life of this child.
Yeah,
or,
I mean, if it wasn't done through here's the thing. I mean, it was done by in vitro, so it had to have been done in a clinic.
Right.
Wouldn't there be some kind of agreement through the clinic
you would think, yeah,
that they were basically just donating?
And we're also talking about this was done in Italy as well.
That's true.
So
Things are weird in Italy.
What are the laws? Because
No offense, Italy.
no, but the laws
Yeah.
are different there.
They are.
But and not that couldn't happen here too. I just don't know.
Yeah, but I think it would be tougher
Yeah.
to get it into court,
Yeah.
depending on what the facts are.
Right. That's interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Should we take a break?
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you for listening to CutOff Genes with Julie Dixon Jackson and Richard Castle. That's me.
Okay, it's this week's story time.
Ooh, who do we have today?
We have Lisa Gordon.
Lisa Gordon. Okay.
Yes, Lisa was referred to me, or I was referred to Lisa by David Minnick, friend of the show, David Minnick. He was a former Storytime friend.
Oh.
And he had actually helped her, and I love it when this happens, like Gen Genies helping out other Gen Genies, and they become Gen Genies, and then it becomes this whole amazing thing. So Lisa's story is terrific, and this is our conversation that we had the other day.
And it will be in 2 parts,
It
correct?
will be in 2 parts.
So this is the first of 2 with Lisa Gordon.
Correct.
Let's listen.
All right. Hey, everybody. I have on the line Lisa Gordon from Dundas, Ontario. Did I say that right? Did I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. David Minnick actually referred me to Lisa and said she had an amazing story. So give us some background. Tell us the story however you would like to relay it to us.
Okay. I don't really know where to start, except that I've always known I was adopted. Have touched on looking for my biological family a few times during my life, but nothing serious. In Ontario, about 10 years ago, they started giving you your birth information with your mother's name on it, your birth mother's name. Mm-hmm. So 5 years ago, I decided to apply for that, and I got it. And it was my mother's name, her address, and telephone number at the time.
Okay.
So I really didn't know. This is before I'd done DNA or anything. So with that one, I just called. I did what we have as Canada 411 directory for that address. And I called the number that was attached to the address, and it was a young girl. And I just asked if she knew Gloria. And she said, no, but I know the town gossip. It's a small town. She said, phone this woman, which I did. And she said, oh, dear, I have to tell you, your mother's passed away, but her sister's alive, and she lives in another town about 100 kilometers from here. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So this town gossip put me in touch with my birth aunt on my mother's side. And when she answered the phone and I said who I was, she said she couldn't believe it had taken this long for me to call.
Oh, so she knew all about you.
She was the only one who knew about me.
Okay.
Yes. So then I have a half-sister on my mother's side who did not know about me. She's 8 years older than I, and she didn't know. So they had to tell her, and then we were introduced. And we're not close, but we do speak once a month. So, yeah.
Well, there's
So I left it
connection.
alone for 5 years. I never bothered with it. And then just before Christmas last year, I decided I'm going to do DNA and see if I can't figure out who my biological father is. Well, when I got it all back in January, I didn't know what I was looking at.
Of course, yeah.
I was like, oh, look at all these names. It meant nothing except I could identify who my biological mother was, like her family.
Mm-hmm.
So I did know enough to separate them out. And then I thought, okay, what do I do? Well, then a match of mine contacted me through Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and said, I have a group called DNA Cousins. Would you like to join? And we're all related. And I said, okay. So I joined it thinking I might learn something. And that's where I met David.
Okay.
And David had written a small statement about helping someone find their biological family. And I just messaged him and said, do you have any tips or tricks? And that's where we came together.
Okay.
He has helped me immensely. I have learned so much from that man.
Yay, David, I'm so glad.
Oh, I would have been in the dark. Believe me. He started teaching me, and within a few days he came back and said, I know who your great grandparents are. Well, I almost fell off my chair.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know that? Then he started explaining it to me and walked me through everything, taught me everything that I could possibly need to know for my search. He told me who my great-grandparents were or who he believed them to be. And from there, we worked together for about 6 months. And I didn't have any close matches. My closest match was a second cousin, 285 centimorgans. And I messaged her, David messaged her. We looked for her on Facebook, but we didn't have her first name. We only had the last name and an initial. So we tried everything. And finally, while we were looking for her, this girl finally messaged me back, and I spoke to her. And she turned out to be about 19.
Oh, wow.
And she didn't know anything. She just did the DNA test because she wanted to.
But her parent was likely your first cousin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so her dad didn't know that she'd done this, but she said her aunt, Debbie, was the family historian, and I should get in touch with her. Well, I did that. I met Debbie yesterday for the first time, actually. She's from British Columbia, and I live in Ontario, so it's a good journey.
Yeah. Did you go to British Columbia, or did she come to you?
She came to me. She was here. Her husband has family in Ontario, so they were here for a wedding.
Oh, okay.
So one of my brothers and I went to meet her, so it was really nice.
That's nice. Yeah, you sent me a picture. It was nice to see.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And so that went very well. But in the same time, I was working with Debbie, and we came up with, the two of us had many laughs and things, all these scenarios that we had made for each other on how we were related and where it was going. And we were stuck. And David kept saying, like, we had the whole family laid out in front of us, and we just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And David kept saying, there is another child.
Yeah, there's an MPE in there somewhere.
Yeah, and we couldn't figure it out. And in that time, I had spoken to my sister, and I said, ask our aunt, her name's Millie, and she said, ask Aunt Millie if she remembers anything, because she is the only person who knew about me. So maybe she might have known who my father was.
Yeah.
And Millie knew I was still looking. She turns around and says, oh, your dad's name was?
Criminy. You're kidding me.
No.
She just kept that to herself?
Yeah, never said a word. And then
this is why we ask questions.
But she had never given me that previous.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was a little ticked, actually.
Had you asked her before directly?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think the DNA made the difference.
Yeah.
Now, the name she gave me was a name that was not in my DNA, and it was not a name that matched what David said to be my great-grandparents.
Oh, okay.
So I was sort of under the, you're wrong. That is not my father.
Right.
And she's saying, no, I know it was. He banged on my door the night your mother went into labor. It's the first time I knew she was pregnant. He was in a panic, and your mother was in the hospital. What am I going to do here? I have to placate her because she was adamant that this was the truth.
Right.
So I ran the name, and I looked, and I could not find a single thing. And I came up with zero. The name was nowhere in Ancestry. The name was nowhere on the internet. The name meant nothing to anybody. She did tell me his best friend's name. I contacted his best friend's children because he passed. Mm-hmm. And they don't remember this person either. And I'm thinking, okay, so it's wrong. It's something, a name maybe he made up or something, but I don't know.
Right.
So I left it, and then one morning, every morning it has become my habit to get up and check my matches in the morning. So
yeah, me too.
Make a coffee, open up, did Ancestry, nothing new. Did My Heritage, nothing new. Did 23andMe, nothing new. I went back to My Heritage and I just typed in the name that my aunt had given me. Oh. Well, all of a sudden it comes up with another person who's looking for this. And it turns out to be my brother in the long run, but he says the name Born Rankin.
Hold on a second. You went to My Heritage, not to their DNA.
No,
or just to okay.
In their search.
I see.
In their search
looking
engine.
For people who are searching for that. I see.
For that person, yes. Okay. And it just turns out that he put in brackets Born Rankin with a question mark. And I went, oh my God, that's true.
Oh, wow.
Like, they couldn't be this any different of a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I have to go onto Facebook, and I did everything David taught me. I screenshot everything, got pictures of everybody, all of their friends, everything I could think of that he'd said. I took pictures of everything the whole time, just dying.
I'm so proud, by the way. This is the way to do it.
Well, this is what he told me, and he stressed it to me so many times.
Good for him.
Don't jump into anything without having the stuff in case they block you after the fact.
Yep.
So I realized that neither of these men, who I assumed to be my brothers by this point, had their own Facebook accounts, but their wives and their children did.
Okay.
So I went through them all, and the other thing David had told me is to find the busiest one. So the one who looked the busiest, who is now my sister-in-law.
The one that did the most posting, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the one you want to go for.
Yep, because that means she's there a lot.
Yes, and she's busy. So I phoned her on Messenger. At first I friend requested her, and she didn't answer me, and then I just phoned.
Wow, I've never done that. I mean, I've phoned before, but never on the Messenger app to a complete stranger. Good for you.
Yeah, and I said to her, she answered, and she said, "Did you friend request me?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And then she goes, "Do we know each other from high school?" Or, I'm like, "No." And she's like, "From Georgetown," which is where I was born. And I said, "Maybe." What am I going to say?
Yeah.
Perhaps we do. So finally, I just said to her, "I'm researching a Rankin family tree, and I have reason to believe that your husband might be a Rankin." And she went silent. And just smart woman, because she asked me, a couple of questions. I can't recall exactly what she asked. And she said, "Do you know who my husband's grandparents are?" And I said, "I believe I do. I'm not positive, though." And she said, "Oh, my God, are you my husband's sister?"
Wow, that easy, huh?
That easy.
So the name, so just to clarify, the name was, he went by a different name than the name that was his family name?
Yeah, that was his legal name.
Okay.
He had an alias.
That happens. Oh, he'd already had an alias?
He was born Alvin Rankin.
Uh-huh.
And he died under an alias name that was never legally changed.
Okay. All right.
So that's where, what my mother's side aunt said and what I found it did match up. That
So it was
Rankin
all-
and the alias were the same person.
Yeah, this is a good lesson, by the way, because this happens.
Well, it was shocking.
I bet.
Well, since then, of course, you know, it happened to be my sister-in-law's 60th birthday. And she says to my brother, she goes, "Hey, honey, you got me a sister for my birthday." And he goes, "Oh, I'm very thoughtful." Just like that. He never even skipped a beat. He was here the next week, came to visit me. We went to a fair together, had lunch out. We both accepted it. He did DNA, you know, and it came back that he is, in fact, my brother.
So this was no surprise to him at all.
From the character of our father, apparently not.
Okay. Okay.
So, now, from there, there's another brother, which he did tell him, and he came the week after the first one came, and same thing. I can see like similarities and characteristics in all three of us. Well, they never met the actual birth family either. They never knew that there was aunts and uncles, and
so
that
their
he had
father,
brothers, and never told them the truth.
And was he in their lives?
Yes. He raised them. That his family was deceased.
So they were full siblings.
Yes, yeah.
And they
raised
had
by their mother
and their father.
And him
Okay.
had an affair, and they lived on the same block.
Oh, okay. So he was married at the time. All right.
Yes, and that's how I came to be. Well,
okay.
So now they know nothing about this family. So there was an aunt that I had been searching for months. And I was trying to get in touch with her. Some people told me she was deceased. Some told me that she was alive.
Your father's sister?
Yes.
Okay.
So I searched and searched. Well, the same day that I actually had my first contact with my brothers on the telephone, I get a call from a woman in Quebec.
All right. And that is the end of part one with Lisa.
We'll have to wait another week to find out the rest of it.
Yeah. Lisa's fun. And I love her accent.
Well, if we're heading out, I might as well just tell you, Julie, because you don't know that I am Richard Castle.
You are?
I am.
I had no idea.
And if you had any interest in me whatsoever, you might go to my website. Nope. richardcastle.com. Find out about the music that I play and the musicals I write.
The songs that you write.
The songs that I write. Or you can follow me on the Twitter at Castle Songs.
Well, my name, in case you're interested, is Julie Dixon Jackson. You can follow me on the Twitter at Jules Jackson with 2 O's. Follow the podcast on Twitter, everybody, at CutOff Jeans Pod. Come join the Facebook group, CutOff Jeans Podcast. There's a question. Please answer it. You can come on in. And it's fun in there.
It's a good group.
Yeah, it really is. Everybody's great.
Good discussions.
And very helpful.
Yes.
And also, if you would like to reach out to me, send me an email, if you like, at julesjackson@cutoffjeans.com. Also, reach out to me if you're going to do a review on iTunes. Let me know who you are and give me your address, and I'll send you something fun.
I want to register a domain for you. I want it to be like swirling maelstrom of feminine supremacy.com.
You got it.
I can't believe I got it right. I almost said superiority. I'm like, no, that's just how she appears.
Nope, it's supremacy.
But what we really should do is have a domain for our catchphrase,
which is the truth is in your jeans.